Hello once again, and thanks for tuning in to another edition of AIW's The Card is Going to Change. Before we get into this week's episode, of course, thank you to those who help us bring the show to you for free on whichever podcast platform you choose to listen. Thanks to our friends at Fight TV, you can now stream AIW live events, and we are working on getting our AIW catalog up there as well through the Fight Plus app, so make sure you download that. A very cheap subscription monthly, and there's so much, not just wrestling, but combat sports in general that you can watch on there. So
$4.99.
$4.99, a great deal. And we want to thank our newest sponsor, The Exchange. Go ahead.
Before you even get there, I was literally just looking at Instagram, and Fight TV opened up, or they uploaded a clip of Frank Mir in a boxing match, getting smoked, and I guess that's getting added to Fight Plus, whatever this boxing match is with Frank Mir. And a little segue, when I was in Vegas, Frank Mir walked by me. I was like, holy shit, that's Frank Mir.
Did you dap him up?
I was like, wow, that's Frank Mir. We were both going to see Chris Angel.
Who else went into, somebody else went in there too.
Paul Stanley from Kiss.
Into your Chris Angel
Paul
show.
Stanley from Kiss was there too.
That's right.
How much fucking magic did you watch in Vegas? Weren't you at a David Blaine show too? What
else are you gonna do in Vegas? You where else are you gonna see a magic show besides Las Vegas?
You're not wrong. Okay.
I was trying to do the whole Vegas experience. I wanted to see Wayne Newton or somebody, but he was off. So I had to settle on 2 magic shows.
John Thorne, big fan of the shows. People didn't know that.
Hey, listen, I appreciate I appreciate the Las Vegas show and the work that goes into them. You haven't lived until you've seen a man submerge himself into a giant fishbowl and hold his breath for 10 minutes. That's the way I feel.
That's
that was my little segue. Frank Mir walked by me when I was going to see Chris Angel. He was there with his family.
All right. Well, also thanks to our friends at The Exchange, our newest sponsor. You can find multiple locations for The Exchange, including in Cleveland, Akron, and Canton. Or, hey, if you are out east in the Pittsburgh area and you listen to us, they've got locations there and in Erie. They got one in Sandusky, all over the place. Buying, selling, trading, new and used music, movies, games, and more. So make sure you give them a follow on social media, see what they have to offer, find the location nearest you, and go support our friends there at The Exchange.
Have you been into an Exchange lately?
Not in a little while.
I went when I was doing a little Christmas shopping.
Yeah.
The game has changed in The Exchange, let me tell you. It's like a memorabilia, they have everything in there. I remember going in there for CDs and stuff, Yeah. And they have everything, all sorts of collectibles, anything you can imagine. They have a wrestling section, all kinds of vintage toys in there now. They have everything in there.
It's one of those stores you have to really look around because everything's piled. They have those glass cases, but then there's stuff on top of the glass cases. Then there's stuff above that.
I was in there.
It's crazy.
I was in there for an hour and a half just looking at stuff. Picked up Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 for the N64.
Oh shit!
Oh wow, look at you. Did you get the N64 there?
No, shout out to Monsoon Classic, who just
for sure
gifted me an N64 and just said, I know I could probably sell this thing, but I don't want to be bothered with it, so you could just have it.
He's the best.
He just gave me an N64 2 months ago. So shout out to Monsoon Classics sponsoring my winter boredom with an N64.
Are you kicking off the shout out segment there, huh, John Thorne? Hey,
kicking it off.
We are, of course,
they call that a segue in the biz.
Yeah. We are joined, of course, by AIW owner John Thorne and our friend Ronald Two Legs. And my name is Steve Guy, your moderator of sorts. Yeah, shout out segment. Shout out to Monsoon Classic. Big shout out, I will say. Might as well kick off. Well, not kick off. You did, but go into the Tadmore Shrine. Huge shout out to them, as we'll get into. But really
Lois,
saving the day.
Am I in trouble?
Saving the day.
Did my title get revoked? Am I in trouble now? I'm just friend of the show now. I'm not the senior audio engineer, as I was told.
Oh yeah, I couldn't remember what the full on title was.
What do you call it, John? EVP.
EVP of audio.
EVP of audio engineering.
I'm like, fuck, what'd I do?
EVP of Audio Engineering, Ronald Two Legs. The only podcast that you could hear him on, as it turns out, coming soon.
Today is the last one, later tonight, yeah.
Well, there you go.
I called in. I'll give you a little spoiler alert. I did call in and I left a message. And then I just like pounded buttons afterwards like I was a confused old man. I couldn't figure out how to hang up the phone because I couldn't think of anything else to do.
Well, shout out to you guys for a nice run there at Pod Van Dam.
Thanks.
It was a fun time. I know everybody really enjoyed that one. And, maybe John Thorne not so much, but most people did.
He's been on the show several times. He couldn't hate it that much. He did it in person one time. We got him to come out in person one time.
That's several years ago.
It was a long time ago. It's fucking crazy how long.
Just want to point that out.
Well, with COVID and all that, it's crazy how long ago shit like that. Like you think about that, like it was. That was like literally like 4 years ago.
Time flies, man. Coming up, it's going to be 23 years to the day that we defeated Y2K.
Holy shit.
Defeated Y2K. Yeah, I guess we did do that. As I was sitting here, my Facebook memories or something came up while we were waiting to jump on. As we record this, it is December 27th. 3 years ago on this day, ICP blew the roof off the Odeon.
Wow, that would have been the... wow, we did that 2 days after Christmas, huh?
Yeah. Can you believe that? Baby, it's too cold outside.
That's crazy.
And, too cold. Scorpio was there. Great night. Great night.
That was like the last. That was the last night of like no COVID concerns, because then we did the Scott Hall show and COVID was getting concerning, but it hadn't like blown up into full on shutdown just yet. So that would have been our last Cleveland show for like several months. Over a year at that point.
No, well, we did Built to Last in Cleveland.
Oh, that's right.
So we did one more in Cleveland in February, I think it was.
Yeah, and then
then Scott Hall.
We did two.
Yep.
We did two in February. That's right.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's been such a blur.
It really has, and Ronnie Two Legs, you got any shout outs here before we?
Yeah, speaking back of that night, shout out Uncle Scott, dude. R.I.P. That was like one of the best nights of my fucking life. That was hanging out with Scott was the best. Other than that, shout outs, Monsoon Classic. You already said him. He's the man. Yeah, I don't know. That's it, I guess.
All right.
We haven't done this in a while.
Let's get into this because we officially say goodbye to the Odeon. As it turns out.
Not the way we intended.
Not the way that we intended to. We wanted an amazing send-off. We wanted to have a really great goodbye and farewell show, but not happening, as it turns out. For those of you who don't know, the Odeon was purchased by somebody else.
There's like way more to the story than that.
Right.
It's just.
But it starts there.
Well, it doesn't. It doesn't.
That's true. It doesn't necessarily start there. That is correct.
Trying to say there's a conspircy?
No. Well, come on.
I had to. I'm sorry. I had to.
I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know he was the expert on historical tax credits, but well, it really started in the summertime. We did JLIT, and then that was going to be our last one on the schedule until December. We kind of that's just the way the schedule fell, and we were moving kind of all over the place with different venues, and we kind of felt that Hell on Earth always draws pretty heavy, so we tried to not do it at the Odeon. Plus, years prior they had some big drawing act always booked on Black Friday. So whatever it is, that's how the schedule kind of fell. And the guy that had pursued us and convinced us to come to the Odeon in the first place, he's also who brought us to the Outpost in Kent over the summer. He was kind of double dipping, so to speak, it seemed. However, when we did the show in Kent, Steve, I think you missed that one.
Correct.
He told us that he had parted ways with the Odeon, but he had assured us everything was good to go because we had set our entire 2023 schedule already in the summer. We had everything kind of booked and set, well in advance. So we had a full schedule booked at the Odeon for next year as well. So we learned in September that he's no longer there, but he says everything's good. All of the social media for the Odeon changes over. We don't really know who has replaced him. I sent a cold message to their Facebook that had changed over, and I just said, "Hey, this is the deal. These are our dates. Want to make sure they're still good." And they wrote back "Yeah, everything's good. We have everything written down. No worries." You know what I mean? Same deal. They were honoring everything. So cool, whatever. Then somebody along the way tells us that the Odeon is for sale, and I start Googling this, and I find a listing. I don't think it was on. It might have been on Zillow. It's on It was on one of those realty websites, but it was listed for $3.5 million for the whole building, which houses multiple businesses: the Odeon, the Daiquiri Bar, the Odeon Lounge. You know what I mean? It's that whole corner. Oh, well, that's a lot of money. I don't think that that's going to sell necessarily anytime soon.
Still, then, what a way to find out. Jesus, you had to Google it yourself.
Right. And I don't even know who told us that it had, that it was for sale. But, I did a little detective work, and I did find that it was listed. And then we set everything for December. It's all, hear nothing. At Hell on Earth, Matt Justice says that he heard that the Odeon was sold. And then, because his lady friend works there. So I go, well, fuck, nobody told us. You know what I mean? So we start talking backstage at Hell on Earth, what's this all about? And then he tries to get more information and says it was just a rumor, it hadn't sold. So then it's okay, we're all good again. And then I want to say a week later, somebody sends me a message and says that the Odeon's sold. And I said, I'm trying to find it. And I look it up again, and it's no longer listed on Zillow or whatever website it was that I had found it. It said that, this property is no longer listed. So then I start I'm on the county website where you can, track realty transactions, and, I'm trying to find it. And finally it said that, something had gone through in early December. So then I'm fuck, now what do we do? You know what I mean? And I have no contact number for anybody there. I send them a message, and then I talk to you, Steve, because you did the Cleveland Comedy Festival there in the in-between of when we were there last.
Yeah, it was right in between that time frame. So I at least had some form of contact information, and I sent the text and then set up phone call for you.
Yeah, you set up a phone conference for me, and then they were it was super weird. They called me, and they were kind of mad that I knew about it. It seemed. And they were
they wanted to wait even longer to tell you. They want to fuck you even harder.
They're somebody leaked this too early. Somebody leaked this, and I'm it's on. What are you talking about? they're trying to tell me that the transaction didn't go through, and I'm like, it's listed on the fucking Cuyahoga County website. Like, the deed has been transferred already. What are you talking about? And then they're like, well, we don't know if you're going to be able to have the show. So I'm like, okay, like, when can you let me know? And they're like, well, we got to talk to the old owner and the new owners, and giving me this whole like runaround. So I'm like, okay. And then like 30 seconds after I get off the phone, I get a text. It says the show is good to go. And I'm like, so you're telling me that December 30th, the AW show is good to go? And they say yes. So I'm like, okay, we're good to go. And then we see like a couple other shows that were advertised. Like, some show starts advertising that they're the final show, ever at the Odeon. It's like a concert. And then, I reconfirm, like, hey, like, we're still good. They're like, yeah, you guys are still good. Don't worry about it. And then somewhere along the way, like, Pedro calls the Shrine and just says, hey, we don't know what's going on. Would by chance the venue be available on December 30th? Because if you guys remember, there was a strict no Fridays policy at the Tadmor Shrine.
Fish fries, right?
So
you know what they always did?
Pedro works, because they always did a fish fry on Fridays. Pedro like works his magic, and they say that they'll hold the date for us because we've developed such a good relationship with them. So then, like, this show that was advertising they're the final show at the Odeon says it's supposed to be like December 18th or something, I think. They announced that they've canceled and moved locations, and like, people are sending me this stuff like, oh, this show's off now. So then I reach out and I'm like, what's the deal? You know what I mean? Like, why is this show not happening? Like, I have a lot of money wrapped up in this show. I have a lot of flights already purchased. And they call me back and they're like, oh, don't worry about it. We told them that they say that, so one show has happened in the interim of this sale, and I guess it was a hip hop show, and I guess like it got crazy, and they like the artists like stole a bunch of stuff because they heard the Odeon was going out of business or whatever, had sold. So they like stole like all the wireless mic systems and like, like kind of like destroyed the place. And, they said there was this big incident with the police that had to come and all this stuff. So the new owners, whoever they are, it's like tons of rumors, but it's never been confirmed as to who actually bought it, said that they need, like, that the remaining shows need to get insurance policies specific for insuring the venue. And I guess, they told this show, hey, you got to get this policy if you still want to have it. They didn't want to get it, so they moved the show. So I say, like, send me all the information. We will purchase the special policy. We look into it, make some calls. We've had to get special policies in the past, like when we did Warped Tour and stuff. And it's a couple $100 for like a one night only, special event policy. So we go through all of that, and we get everything rolling, and I say, give me what needs to be insured, and they give me like 3 LLCs that they want us to insure to be able to hold the event. So we do all that. We get everything squared away, and then we get a text. I get a text that's just like, I'll just find exactly what it says, because I still have it. It said, John, there was an issue transferring the liquor permit and liquor insurance with the new owners. I'm concerned it's not going to be a quick fix. and I don't want to spring this on you last minute. I mean, mind you, we are 9 days out at this point. Might want to consider another venue at this point rather than take a gamble. Really sorry. I can put you in touch with other venues if you would like. And then, like, that's just where it's left. It's not like, hey, we figured this out. Hey, we have a timeline of figuring this out. It's like, hey, we'll start putting you in contact with other venues. Like, this isn't going to happen. So that's when we kind of are forced to start, and we all start looking for places within the Cleveland area. It just was impossible to happen on such short notice. And, it gets to that point to where it's like, we have 9 days. I had to make a call, right? Like, we knew that we had the Shrine as a backup, but I also knew that's a tall order, you know what I mean? To move the show, 45 minutes away. But, we had reached out these venues that the Odeon people were suggesting were not available for the date. So we were kind of left, holding the bag, and it was like cancel or move it to the Shrine.
Question. That special insurance policy, now is that something you're left just paying for and you're like, well, fuck, we can't, like, is there a return policy on that? You get any of that money back?
I mean, you can't, I mean, we had paid for it. You know what I mean?
That's so fucked.
Yeah. I mean, dude, like, this whole thing has been really a financial mess, but it's like, cancel the show and eat the flights, because you can't get a refund on flights. You just get credits, So then it's like, we have to hope that we can use those credits on those people that are being flown in at some point in 2023. And it's got to be specific. It's got to, be those specific airlines and all that other stuff. Or it's like, eat this policy and roll the dice on refunds, and still have the show. And, I think everybody wanted to still have the show. But the offering of refunds, like, really, I mean, I understand, like, we had to do it. You know what I mean? I'm not complaining. Like, it's, it's not our fault, but it is our fault in a way. You know what I mean? So it's like, we believed what the Odeon and the people that were running the place were telling us to be true, that we were going to have the show and it was going to be no problem. That was not the case. So, we're kind of like left, like, with two bad options, right? Like, it's have the show, but you have to move it 45 minutes away, or like don't have the show at all. And, you eat all these flights. So, I mean, we figured we would do our best with 9 days to try to spread the word and make the change. And, we got killed with refunds. I mean, it's been pretty brutal, to be perfectly honest, but I expected that to happen because, it's a big change, like getting an Uber from the Odeon, when you live in the greater Cleveland area, is a lot different than getting an Uber to and from the Tadmor Shrine.
It's yeah. What a mess. This is like the most one-sided podcast maybe we've ever done, where you just have to tell this whole story and lay it out. But here we are. And like we said, shout out to Tadmor Shrine. Shout out to Lois there. Shout out to Pedro for even, for having the wherewithal, the foresight to,
And I mean, Pedro was ready to call. Pedro was ready like the instant that we got this word. Because, like, again, even the cancellation text was kind of like a, hey, you can still wait it out and see. But, like, I mean, the writing was on the wall at that point, based on how, like, much of a roller coaster the whole thing was.
Yeah.
That we needed to move the show, right? Like, if we didn't move it, they were going to tell us the day before. That's the vibe that I got. And I think it was kind of like a passive-aggressive way of saying, like, hey, like, it's over. You know what I mean? Pedro was ready to, like, instantly be like, we have to go to the Shrine. And, like, I fought him on it because I really wanted to try to find a place in Cleveland because, we do have people that go to both venues, but like there is a big portion that are like two different crowds, you know, like
For sure.
there's people that come to the Odeon, there's people that only go to the Shrine. So I was really trying to like keep it reasonable for the Cleveland fan base, and it just, as the hours were passing and, you know, the communications with venues were not going well for that date. And I want to specify for that date, you know, like there's a lot of speculation that we've been, quote, run out of town. That is not true. We have secured a return to Cleveland already early in 2023, but we just couldn't make it happen on 9 days' notice on a Friday night, the weekend of New Year's Eve. I mean, every venue has something booked. You know what I mean? Like it's just that's the hand that we were dealt, and it sucks. But you know, I think this was better than canceling the show. I mean, I don't know. You know, like I'm hopeful for a big walk up. You know, I mean, the refunds are in the multiple thousands of dollars. I mean, this was like the last Odeon show was a hot ticket. You know, like ticket sales were way ahead of schedule as far as what we typically do at the Odeon, and like we got smoked with refunds. You know what I mean? Like there's still, as I was still, you know, processing some this morning. You know, that's why some front row tickets became available today when we were recording this on the 27th. But yeah, it's just been, man, it has been very stressful, a huge just like roller coaster. And I mean, you know, I know you guys are aware because you guys have kind of been on the inside of it all, but I just don't think that the fans realize like how up and down this whole thing has been for over a month at the very least. You know what I mean? Like we started, you know, and you can really go into months when you take into consideration the rumor of the sale and all that stuff, and having to try to, you know, make sure everything was good. And you know, we're fucked for 2023 as far as our existing schedule was. You know, like we had a full schedule there next year as well. So, you know, just a ton of like, you know, it's like a house of cards that just like totally fell. And it just, every time we thought that we had it figured out and it was good, and you know, you're taking everything that they're telling you as gold, right? Because we have no interaction with these new owners. We don't even know who they are. We have one point of contact person who's, you know, from the old regime, but is saying that she's staying on in the new regime. And, you know, it's just, it was this whole big thing. And, you know, I appreciate the honesty from them. Like, I don't think that she necessarily, you know, the Odeon was keeping us in the dark on things. I just think, you know, things probably fell for them just like they're falling for us. You know what I mean? They just had to be the bearer of bad news. I'm sure that staff didn't know that they were gonna fucking, you know what I mean? All their schedules was gonna be wiped out. You know, like there's a lot of people that, you know, not a lot of people, but they had a staff. You know what I mean? They had, you know, they have audio engineers and lighting people and bartenders and security. And, you know, I'm sure that they weren't anticipating that all their shifts were going to get cut.
Right. Yeah. That's the other side of it. So everything kind of happened quickly. And like you said, there's nobody was trying to do a disservice to us or anything like that. It just, things fell how they fell and happened as quick as they did. And we got the information kind of as it was all going on and did the best we could with it. And the other side of this too is, like you said, we have Cleveland fans, we have Akron fans, you know, there are people who also come in from out of town, right, and stay at hotels and things. So the ability to make as quick a decision as possible was also imperative in terms of doing something good for the fans, because if you have fans who have already made hotel reservations, they can cancel them that far out in advance still and then hopefully find something, closer to Akron if they need to. So there's a lot to take into account here when we have to make moves like this. It's not just the company, but the timeline is such that, because there are going to be some people who are like, well, why didn't you just wait it out and see? Could we have waited until this week and maybe ran the Odeon? Maybe, but
yeah, but it did not seem
who does that
very
really
likely.
benefit?
You know what would have happened.
Who does that benefit?
God forbid we even could run the Odeon. Guaranteed it would have been some shit like, well, the liquor you can run the show, but the liquor license, and AIW ain't running without booze. So that, I guarantee that would have been the last.
Right, and per our deal, a lot of it is based on the business that we bring to the bar, right? Like we were not paying a huge rental fee because I had negotiated and such based on how well we do at the bar and our fan base does at the bar. So they were not going to also roll the dice on, taking what they consider a discounted rental rate and potentially not be able to make things up on the back end with bar sales. You know what I'm saying? Like they weren't, they did not want to roll the dice on that either. Is, as our text conversation went on beyond that, what I read, like that's the vibe that I got, and it's like, could everything be squared away by the 30th? Maybe, but with the holidays and everything else, it seemed real less likely that any of that stuff was going to be processed in time, until after the first of the year.
Yeah, so apologies to anyone who was inconvenienced by this whole thing, but obviously, if you're listening to this, you understand now that it certainly wasn't, we weren't just screwing around here. There were things out of our hands, and we made the quickest decision that we could with everybody's best interest in mind. So
yeah,
hey,
I gave it to I received that text at 11 a.m. I gave it until I think 3 or 4 p.m. that day to let's see what we can get in these few hours. If nothing happens, we have to just rip the Band-Aid off and just take what's coming to us in the form of refunds, because I knew it was going to happen. We tried everything we could within that amount of time, but we're also, you're up against Christmas and the holidays and things like that, to where some of this stuff, the longer we wait to make a move, is going to just fall into the vortex, of the holiday, hustle and bustle, so to speak. So it's like somebody could miss it, you know what I mean? And then think they're going down to the Odeon on Friday and go, well,
yeah,
when did this happen? You know what I mean? So I wanted to give it a certain amount of time before we totally pulled the trigger. I think it was, I think it was the 21st, I believe, is when we, had to make the decision. So, I wanted to get ahead of Christmas and all that stuff. And we also sent out multiple emails, to the ticket holders and, to give them every chance they could, because, dude, like, how many fucking spam emails did you get right before Christmas? You know what I mean? Like a ton. Yeah. So like I was concerned about that. So I put like a hard stop time on it on the 21st of like, if we don't lock anything down in the Cleveland area by, 3:00, like it's all systems go on the Switch. And I had, shout out to Jesse the Mark, who rushed out new graphics. He was like on call for that. Like Pedro was on call with the shrine, because all Pedro had done was have a conversation, like, would you guys hold the date? So then when it becomes real, you got to go down there and you got to put money down for that room, like, and you got to sign paperwork and all that stuff. So it was like, okay, we're waiting until 3:00. And then, after that, it was like all systems go. You know what I mean? Like, we have to make the switch. We alerted all the ticket holders first. Then we sent out, you know what I mean, a mass email to our email list. And then we started hitting social media. So it was like a very, like, thought out effort to try to spread the word. But yeah, it sucked. I mean, it's continued, to suck as far as the refunds go. But
yeah,
I think that was better than canceling.
Absolutely, and that being said, we mentioned earlier a couple times, we do at times have a Cleveland crowd, and then we have an Akron crowd. We have people to do both, but we have people to do one or the other, and because of that, we've had some refunds issued, as you mentioned, so there are still tickets available. So if you're just finding out right now by listening to this that we are going to be in Akron, or maybe you're from the Cleveland area, doesn't matter, you like the Tadmor Shrine better, you like the bigger feel, you like the paintings on the wall, whatever the case may be, tickets are available, shop.aiwrestling.com. They're also on Eventbrite, so get them right now. Help us pack this thing out for our last show of 2022. What an incredibly amazing year it has been, and a very weird ending to it. But
the thing that really bums me out is, like, I booked this to be like such a fucking heavy card, and I really wanted that, that stamp on the Odeon era of AIW. I wanted to go out big, and that's what's disappointing. Now, I will say this: allegedly, the Odeon is going to come back as a venue. We don't know any of the circumstances surrounding that, though.
Right.
New owners. We don't know if it's going to be a new name. Supposedly, they are shutting down for an extensive remodel, is what I've heard. The last thing I heard from the contact people there, and they are interested in still doing business with us, because we did take this whole thing in stride. But again, what that means, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, there's been no specifics discussed or any of that. So that was also the plan, though, was like, hey, like, once we found out that, this is sold or whatever, we kind of shuffled the card around a little bit and, wanted to go big and wanted to pack it, and, we were using this as an infomercial for these new owners, like, hey, you need this in your venue whenever it reopens. So there was a lot of, like, that kind of psychology that went into the booking of this card that obviously doesn't matter at this point. But it is still a really fucking strong card, in my opinion. I just hope that the Cleveland people that were so fucking jazzed for it come to Akron, because for this card to happen and not a full Tadmor Shrine is a travesty.
Steve didn't even mention the fucking brownie sundaes in Akron, bro. That concession stand? Come on.
Oh,
I love the Odeon, but they don't got anything close to that type of concessions. I love Monsoon Classic and Smokin' Jays, but they don't got brownie sundaes.
Got to get the brownie sundaes when you're down at
and
the
they'll have a full
Shrine.
bar. They'll have a full bar at the Tadmor Shrine.
Right.
They will have a full bar. There'll be beer. There'll be liquor. It'll be great. And brownie sundaes. And let's talk about the show. It is a jam-packed card. You're absolutely right.
Before we even get into that, how do you guys feel about the situation? Because I've given my perspective, but you guys have also different kind of viewpoints in this whole thing too.
It went from like 6 minutes of prep and breakdown to about 2 hours on either end, front and back for me. The Odeon is a pretty simple setup and breakdown. That's really the only thing that's different for me is just the amount of work. But yeah, I mean, I don't have to deal with any of this stuff. I'm not on the front office chat, so I don't really have to deal with a lot of that like headache type stuff. I just show up where I'm told, and we've been, you kind of put everyone's feet to the ground on trying to find venue stuff. I've been working, trying to look for stuff like that, but not too much different for me. What about you, Steve?
It's, well, it actually ends up being a little less work for me because I used to work with the lighting guys on getting, everybody's entrances lit up and what that presentation looked like and getting things squared away with the ring. And so I don't have to do that so much, obviously, at the Tadmore Shrine. So a little less work for me on the flip side. But it was I would say I'm just as bummed out as John because, we've talked about it in our office chat and John and I have talked about it at length, either on here or just in general when we have conversations. And the Odeon just felt like home. It was our ECW arena. Yeah. And will we go back there? It's possible. But man, if we don't, it's such a bummer. But it's such an incredible moment in time for the AIW history. It's just things to think about. Like, we shot Go for Broke there, and while you want to, whether that was a success or failure, it doesn't matter. We did that there, and that was something brand new that we did. The show is coming back from COVID. Eddie Kingston returning, from COVID. That pop when there's only 100, 150 people in the Odeon, but it felt like there was 1,000 in that moment.
That's the stuff that's sad. Is like the special. Some people hated the venue, whatever, like from a fan's perspective, but the wrestlers viewed that as the mecca of AIW,
Yeah.
Some fans, have said they're dancing on the grave of the Odeon. But the wrestlers, the just overall mentality and feel among them when we were in the Odeon is different than any other venue that we've been in. Mm-hmm. And, we got all the bells and whistles with it, the lights and the production and, we're in the heart of downtown Cleveland. There's just a different feel among the talent. And not to cut you off, but I wanted to read a text that I got from Fonzie based on what you said. It reminded me what he texted me the other day, and it said, "Damn, Daddy, the Odeon is AIW's ECW arena. I hope we didn't lose the building completely, and hopefully we do a hell of a house in Akron. See you soon, Daddy." I wish they would have considered letting us close the year out there. That wasn't cool when they pulled the plug on us, but we will carry on.
And I mean, he's right. We will, but it just look. Tom Lawler dancing the night Tom Lawler danced atop the AIW arena. Like those are the moments. We had Britt Baker versus Mercedes Martinez there.
Poor Tom Lawler is rushing back from Japan because he didn't want to miss the last Odeon show, and now he's just going to the Tadmore Shrine.
Tom Lawler loves two AIW, venues / shows. He loves him some Wrestle Rager, and he loves the Odeon. It just Mance Warner's entrance at the Odeon, and I know Mance is doing things, and we don't get to see him all that often, but the feel of his entrance at the Odeon to me is just. It's a special moment to be a part of, and I think back to that J-Lit final, right? It was it Mance, Justice, and Gage?
Yeah,
the one year. And I remember being in the ring in that moment, and Fonzie's a part of that, and the feeling of the fans. Like you knew it was like something big was going to happen there, and it was just a huge moment. And the absolution that we get to have there, and there's just man, there's so many ICP, Too Cold.
It's a bummer.
Like
and that's the thing is like, when fans were happy, some fans were happy about the change, but among the performers, there is just this like incredible sadness about the Odeon coming to an end. And I wanted to, as much as I wanted to explain the story of just the up and down nonsense that we had to deal with over the last, month and a half, I wanted to get across the general feeling of the performers and the wrestlers, because they all are really disappointed about not being able to, do one more in the Odeon.
Yeah.
They're disappointed that it was going away, but they're really disappointed that they didn't get to say goodbye to it, and we kind of ended it on a whimper with, the J-Lit that did not do well in August. So a lot of people are just really upset among, the roster and, even people that aren't regularly on the roster anymore. There's a lot of people that are upset to see the Odeon go. And I did not want to skip over that, before we moved on, and that just general feeling among everybody of, losing such a special venue in, in Cleveland.
We could go on and on. I mean, maybe at some point we just do an entire tribute show to what we did at the Odeon, like that whole era. I don't know. You get the balcony spot there, right? And, Eddie and Tom Lawler at Absolution there. Eric Stevens basically returning to wrestling at the Odeon. And from that J-Lit weekend, that moment when we get the major players stacked up against Team AIW, who were supposed to be, heels, bad guys. You got the Rip City Shooters and Colin and Cheech, and people hated all four of those guys at the time, but not that night. In that moment, they were like, oh no, fuck these guys who are coming into our territory. These dudes are coming into the Odeon, these big TV stars. No. We're with these guys right here. Those are our boys, homegrown. And so, Prohibition's daughter getting in the ring against Matt Cardona. Like, they're just so
there's
many,
endless amounts of memories
and just moments, and just when you look back and we have some amazing Akron shows. We had an amazing Hell on Earth at Force Sports, but there is just been something about the Odeon, and every roster member, no matter how regular or not, when they come through those curtains, man, it gets dialed up when they come through. Then they walk out that stage and they head to the ring at the Odeon. It just, there is something about the place. And again, we can liken it to being our ECW arena, and that could just be it. But everything gets dialed up when you're at the Odeon. It's incredible. And it does really stink that we can't give the proper goodbye to this era, for sure.
Two Legs, you spent a lot of your time on the other side of the rail there. Like, what do you think?
I loved the Odeon for a lot of reasons. The bar there was always great. The bartenders were great. It just had a great feel. It had this like dark kind of, I don't want to say dingy because that's not the word.
It was like
but
gritty.
Like, gritty is a perfect word. Yeah, it just felt like an AIW place that we'd run a show. I love the Tadmore, but just the bright lights. It just doesn't. It feels different at the Odeon. I'll never forget Dalton Castle yelling at everyone because the locker room was dirty, and him being back there for J-Lit, like, "Come on, we're better than this, you guys!" Like shit like that. Like, it's just a different area. The way everything is backstage behind like that, everyone's kind of together all at once in like in one area. Some of the other places, everyone's kind of spread out. The Odeon just has this different different kind of feel to it, and especially like Steve said with some of before I was doing the sound and stuff, some of those entrances and songs and a lot of that stuff it just seemed different at the Odeon for whatever reason, with the lights and just the way, their big, huge, stack of speakers. I try to make it as loud as I can for everyone, but we only got so much. We don't have a venue house fucking sound system like the Odeon does. So it's just a little different, It's a place. It's crazy to think that photo I took at J-Lit, like, thank God I took that photo. Who would have thought that was going to be the last, like, big moment?
It's the last match at the Odeon.
Yeah, like, who would have thought? And it's definitely sad. It's definitely sad to see it go without getting one more, like you said, like, okay, this is it. We're gonna do it big this one last time. And like you said, to show them, like, because they don't know what they're missing out on, really, to say, like, everyone I feel like would have went to that last show and been like, all right, like, we're gonna drink up, let's do shots at the bar, let's buy them beers, everyone, like, shit like that. They would have said, like, notice, like, damn, like, yeah, we maybe do need to bring these guys back in 2023, because this is like, these people are having a good time. This is a good night at the venue. I'm sure they have concerts there where it's just a concert. People show up and like, whatever. Like, the bar doesn't do so good. People leave and like, okay, whatever. AIW, I feel like everyone there, the fans, the patrons, everyone, you can just tell is having a great time, and it
brought them consistent business, like, throughout the event,
right?
Where you go and see a band, and then you leave when the band is over, and maybe you're not staying for the band that's on later. You know what I mean? It's just it's a different business model, and the old team at the Odeon really embraced that and really understood what we had to offer. And it's just it's a sad time, and it was sad when when I'm the only one getting this information in real time, you know what I mean, and I got to make the decision, to move it to the Odeon. Like, it was like it was a real, like, mental debate, you know what I mean? Because it's like, it's officially over, you know what I mean? And, like, it was a relief, but it was also, pretty sad to, pull, like I said earlier, rip the Band-Aid off and just make the call to move to the Shrine. Like, that was like, I knew it had to be done, but it was like, it was a really weird feeling. I don't know how to explain it.
The only concern, I guess, if I would have had any concerns going into this, is that some people literally would have tried to tear the house down, being the last show at the Odeon.
Yeah, that was already addressed in advance.
Okay, I heard a couple spots before it got changed. Two different people asked my opinion on a spot, and I was like, "Holy shit! You sure about that?"
People would have dialed it up even more than what I'm talking about, and
I think that's still going to happen, though, to be honest. Not to cut you off. I'm sorry. I think everyone, and this happens a lot with, I know with the performers, that people, like, okay, like, they know people, okay, like, whenever there has been a show that's maybe kind of undersold a little bit, I know everyone in the back kind of takes it as like, all right, well, now we're going to make everyone see what they missed out on and why they should have came to the show. You know what I mean? They all kind of get this, not a chip on their shoulder, but kind of maybe a chip on their shoulder, like, hey, like, this is, everyone kind of turns it up always. And I feel like this show's going to be no different.
I think you're right. I think that, you look at the card, and I just, it's hard to see this, not going well. But I think that it is definitely full of people who now are going to be like, all right, well, we don't get one last night at the Odeon. Like you said, let's show them what's up and see what they're missing out on. And then, it just stinks, because I look at this and I'm like, man, this is such an Odeon built card, John. Shaw Mason versus Filthy Tom Lawler, right? The kind of return match from what we saw at WrestleRager during the course of the summer. And that's a match built for the Odeon. And yeah, go ahead, too.
You know who I was going to say I think it kind of really stinks for, and I think Broner him versus Josh, this match, like obviously the head main event match, he hasn't really gotten a big headlining match. He got the Suzuki match, but it was never like the main event one, and I feel like this would have been a big one. He had that Suzuki match. He's had a lot of high-profile matches, and this one being the main event at the Odeon, like that's like you said, it's like AIW's home, spot. I think that would have been, not that it's doing anything bad for him not being there, but I just think he deserved to get that big main event match at the Odeon, with all the bells and whistles of the lights and everything like that. And I just think it's, that's one that kind of sneaks.
And it was neutral territory. Now, it's got a home field advantage.
Yeah, right.
Bishop.
Good point.
For Josh, yeah, absolutely. And, Derek Dillinger versus Kaplan for the Intense title. That's another one, man, built for the Odeon. Derek loves the Odeon, has bled all over the frickin' place. Kaplan's going to Kaplan anywhere, but he is another guy that loves it, and now these two are just going to have to, crank it up even more. The fact that we're not going to see Joey Janela versus Matthew Justice in the Odeon. Justice, a guy that, let's face it, Matt Justice is a guy that helped build AIW as the Odeon era.
The Odeon built, also built him. You know what I mean? It built his 100%. It built his comeback.
Yep.
And that, like I said, this card is going to be good anywhere in any building, anywhere. But it was built specifically for the Odeon. And just that environment and vibe. And, the only way we're going to replicate that is if we sell about 200 more tickets from, between now and Friday to fill the shrine and get that atmosphere built up. Because, that's the thing with the Odeon is like when it's packed, it is extra packed just because it's close quarters in there. And it just creates such a different vibe and environment. And, this card is certainly more on the heavy hitter violence side of things to say it, I guess, nicely. So I don't know how that's going to play in the Shrine. I'm interested to see how it's going to play in the Shrine. I know for a fact every one of these matches would have went crazy in the Odeon. Sometimes the Shrine crowd takes a little bit of time to wake up. And, this is a very punch you in the face card from start to finish. So I just don't know how it's going to play there.
Better have Razor Man ready with that fucking mop and bucket that he had at Four Sports, because I feel like it's gonna be a heavy hitter show for sure.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we talked about the heaviest of hitters in terms of matches. Josh and Broner, Kaplan and Derek, Justice and Janela. But PME versus Euthanasia, Matt Cross and Josh Prohibition finally going to get their hands on these guys. That's going to be an unbelievable tag team matchup. Not to mention the tag team titles online, Balking Season versus the Bitcoin Boys. Now, Balking Season is one, while they love the Odeon, and you talk about home field advantage, that's another thing. They usually have a pretty darn good crowd coming to the Tadmore Shrine, so you got to believe that that's going to help them out being there. Brian Myers versus Wes Barkley. This is
that's one that's built for, that's another one that's built for the Odeon. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Wes primarily gets more support at the Odeon,
That's where they shaved his fucking head.
Right, and that's where he wanted to get his comeuppance again. Hopefully. So, I hope that people realize it's not that far. The weather is supposed to break later on this week. It's supposed to be in the 50s on Friday.
50s, yeah.
Maybe a little rain, but no snow, no ice, none of the crazy conditions that we've been dealing with for the last couple of days. So I'm hopeful when people see that, it's people come out, you know what I mean? And they also kind of kick out of the, the after holidays, recharge, you know what I mean? Everybody's just dealt with all of that stuff in the last week. Hopefully, by Friday they're ready to, come out and party a little bit. I really, 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 really am super happy with this card.
I'm super pumped for one we haven't even mentioned yet, and that's the classic AIW Scramble. That's going to be 6 different styles that we haven't ever really got to see in a ring together. A couple of the new students that have graduated, some old people. Uncle Chase is coming back. Like, that's going to be
easily one of the weirdest scrambles that we have ever had.
Yeah, that's going to be
Sam
awesome.
Hardway Holloway, Jocelyn, Swoggle, Uncle Chase, Austin James, and Chase Oliver. Like, I mean,
that's going to rock.
who knows?
Swoggle another one. He wanted on that final Odeon show. He wasn't accepting no for an answer. It's his son's birthday. He's coming.
He was open to bring Landon to the Odeon.
If you think about it, he left his boots in the Odeon, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah, so I mean,
he left
that
his
could
little
have been
boots in the Odeon.
Yeah, a little final send-off for the Swag Dog.
Yeah, he wanted to come and do one more at the Odeon. There's a lot of that, and it's just Brian Myers, same thing. He wanted to do one more at the Odeon. Like, him and Cardona absolutely love the Odeon. It's one of their favorite venues in all of independent wrestling. So, a lot of this card was like contingent on the Odeon. You know what I mean? And people are still going to work hard, but like, everyone is just so disappointed that they don't get to do it in the Odeon one last time. And that's why, the only hope to, you know what I mean, to like, the only consolation prize is like if we can fucking pack the Shrine, which has been an uphill battle, and we knew it was going to be an uphill battle once we announced the venue switch. But we have quite a hill to climb between now and Friday. I guess you could say this is the hard sell portion of the podcast, but we haven't had to hard sell really in a while, and it's a strange feeling, to be honest. But I knew it was coming. I just knew it was inevitable when we had to make the switch that people were going to want refunds. I didn't think it would be as heavy as it's been, and that just goes to show you how many people were living and dying by that last Odeon experience. But I don't know. You know what I mean? I just really hope that we can get people out and we can pack the Shrine. We've never not packed the Shrine. We've always done pretty well. Doing it on 9 days' notice is really a tall order, though.
Aside from it would have been the last Odeon show, here's the thing, though. Obviously, these guys are going to go hard. They're also going to go hard because this is the second last day of the year, and this has been an incredible year in general for AIW and for so many people, and especially so many people on this card. And it's still full of guys who have made incredible runs during 2022 that they're going to want to end it on this high note, right? Derek finally captures a championship in AIW. He's going to want to go balls to the wall. The incredible rise of Wes Barkley. Yes, he's a part of the Rip City Shooters, but now when you say Rip City Shooters, it's got 1A, 1B. It's not just a tag team anymore.
It's not Josh and some other guy. It's Josh and Wes.
They stand apart individually so well now, and he has just had an incredible run. So for him to be able to cap it off with hopefully getting a little bit of revenge here on Brian Myers, that's huge for him. A 4-way match that we haven't talked about yet, tag teams, guys like Money Shot, Bang Bros, members only. Incredible 2022 for them in AIW in terms of what they've been able to do and really burst on the scene in the tag team division. And you got guys in here that are between Bang Bros and Money Shot that really want to,
TME.
And you have TME on there, returning TME. We haven't seen them, feels like, forever.
Those guys, man. I mean,
but you have people who really want to put their stamp on this division, and heck, J Pro really just coming back and going on his run, and this may be the most that we've seen Matt Cross in an AIW ring in 1 year in probably like 10 years.
Yeah, he usually just does like 1 or 2 a year. And this card just like it took a lot to put it together, and there were a lot of different drafts and things like that, and things moved around, and there were some other things that we were trying to make happen and it didn't happen. And the way it all fell into place, I really am ecstatic about. Like, from the scramble to the 4-way tag, there's a lot of different things on this card, and there's a lot of potential, and it's cliche to say, but like everything on this card stands a chance to at least have one memorable moment, at the very least, in, the cliche term that it could all steal the show. I really do feel like it could all, every match could steal the show. There's something explosive in every one of these matches in different ways. So,
Dude,
I'm really excited about it.
That 4-way alone, I mean, everybody knows I'm a big members-only guy. Everybody knows members-only my guys. But you got Money Shot, who have came in a couple times, just two dudes who could come in and do whatever they want in AIW. They've shown that. They've came in and won matches here. Bang Bros came in a couple times showing some crazy shit, high-flyer shit. And then you got TME guys who, every time I hit the music for them, it's crazy to me that they're not on, like, TV. Those dudes are insane. They're huge, fucking jacked dudes. That 4-way is going to be like a car crash of tag team. That AIW is kind of one of the best tag team divisions in independent wrestling. I think our tag team division is, like, pound for pound the best. And you're putting four teams in there that match, like you said, any match could steal the show. That match right there, a 4-way tag, could easily be the highlight of the show without a doubt.
And everything has potential for at least something memorable to happen in it. And, that doesn't always happen, and listen, I've seen the criticism on using students on Twitter, and some people don't like it and all that other stuff. But, like, and some cards don't hit because of that. I get that.
But you have to look at it, though, and think of stuff like, if you don't use the students on the show and give them these opportunities, how do they turn into members only and guys like that? Because look at what members only is doing.
How do they turn? It's building to the future.
You don't have to go just recent members only. How do they turn into a Joshua Bishop?
Bishop's a great example. Yeah, I mean, right. I always think that's funny when people say that, because to me, it's like, well, then go watch like a weird super indie. Go to that one in Chicago that just books all the big name guys. Like, I want to go to an indie and I want to see people their first couple times. Like I was saying, everybody knows I'm a big Isaiah Broner guy. When that dude first came out, you see a guy like that on an independent show that he's not very known. You're like, holy shit. And now you watch what he's doing and these guys are turning into stars. To me, I think it's pretty sweet that you get to say, like, oh, I saw them when no one knew who they were. They were just coming up, just starting. I've seen, like, Danhausen, a perfect example. I mean, look at that guy. I mean, AIW fans have known who that guy is for how long, and got to see the different incantations or whatever word it is for these characters and gimmicks that they do. I think it's so sick to see people come up through it as opposed to just seeing the big name guys. I don't know. That's why I think the student shit and the school that you guys have, that we have, whatever, is just is beneficial in so many ways that, like, I don't know, it's just constantly turning out new people. You know what I mean? Like, it'd be so boring if it was the same people all the time.
Right. Yeah. And I just don't think that you can rely as a business model on imported talent.
Right.
Yeah, like, you need to do it, and it's a necessary evil, and there's some great talent out there that, we try to mix in, and we try, but the bread and butter of the company is in the foundation is coming out of the AIW Academy. And if people don't like it, like, that's just the way it's going to be. You can't deny the foundation that the school has provided for the company. And it would be one thing if people were not delivering, and obviously, you know what I mean? You're going to get a different in-ring show at the Winchester than you're going to get at the Odeon. And you know what I mean? Like, right. That is a little bit of a different story. The Winchester is, where we are going to take some risks out there with some of these, less experienced students and get them the reps that they need, because if nobody gets them the reps, they're never going to get better. And they've just paid to train for nothing. Like, and I'm sorry, like, I just can't have that on my conscience. I'm not going to just take somebody's money and say, okay, thanks, go be a wrestler somewhere. That's just, that's my part of the bargain. You know what I mean? They've paid the train.
But you
it's my part of the bargain to give them a place.
You also don't want that on your name. You don't want someone who stinks and being like, well, I was trained at AIW and they stink. Well, they never get the reps to get any better. You know what I mean? So that's right. Part of it too. Everyone who comes out of the school is a polished, good wrestler.
Yeah, and some people take longer than others, and some people catch on quicker than others. You know what I mean? It's all different. But my point is we've had I've seen some criticisms, but like look at the imports on this show: Joey Janela, Tom Lawler. You could maybe say Tom Lawler, even though he's pretty much a roster member. Brian
Tom would
Myers,
say he is.
Right. Well, I know he is, but you know what I mean? I'm just saying from the perspective of a fan, right? He is not a homegrown student. There's some super talented imports on this show as well.
Oh yeah. It's chock full of what you expect from an AIW show as things have been constructed between imports and students, or giving guys that maybe aren't homegrown from the AIW Academy, but guys, giving opportunity to and branching out. So we've said it many times. This is a loaded card. This really is. If you're anywhere in the area, or you're looking for something to do this weekend, and trying to make some New Year's plans, start it off with us. Come to Ohio. Come to Northeast Ohio. Come to Akron on Friday night, rather than watching at home on the Fight Plus app. Although fantastic if you are watching at home because you live just a little too far away than to come to Northeast Ohio. But for anyone anywhere near the vicinity, by all means, grab your tickets, AIWrestling.com or on Eventbrite. Come party with us. Come hang out. You
can find the link on any of our social media accounts as well.
Yeah, come celebrate an incredible end to 2022 with us, and man, let's rage as if it was the Odeon. Who cares? This is just going to be such a great show, no matter what. I'm so looking forward to this, and it is just going to be a great end cap to all that we've done and accomplished this year, because there have been so many shows this year. It's almost hard to remember where the heck 2021 ended for us and 2022 started, because it just seemed like we just kept on rolling, and what a summer we had, right? And so this is going to be a fantastic ending to an incredible year that we have had here at AIW. So come join us, guys. Get those tickets. If you're not coming, again, subscribe if you haven't already to the Fight Plus app. Watch us streaming live this Friday, live from Akron, Ohio. Any final thoughts here, gentlemen?
Brownie Sundays, baby.
No, I mean, yeah, you pretty much summed it up. I mean, yeah, obviously, if you can make it to the shrine, and help us, bring the atmosphere up, and raise the energy in the Tadmore Shrine for this fucking loaded show, please come down, buy a ticket. There are plenty of tickets available on Eventbrite. There will be tickets available at the door this Friday as well. And if you are living outside of driving distance, please watch on the Fight Plus app for $4.99 if you have not already subscribed.
I can't wait.
There you go.
This is gonna be one of the best shows I think has been in a long time. The card alone has got me super excited. I'm gonna be standing up back there, hitting the fucking music, jamming out like I always do, because this show is gonna fucking rock. Every match, one after another, is just gonna be banger after banger. I can't wait to see the order it's gonna be in, because this Friday's gonna fucking rule. I can't wait.
Yeah, where's the breathing room, right? As you look at this.
Yeah.
I have not set the order yet, because I don't know how to pace it, honestly, because everything, like I said, this is like such a punch you in the face lineup. I don't know where to start. Obviously we know what's ending the night. It's going to be Broner and Bishop. That's without question for the absolute title. But how we get there with this card, I don't know. And I'm gonna sit down here probably after we record this and start trying to map out, what the order of the show is going to be, and what's going in intermission, what's bringing us out of intermission, what's opening. You know what I mean? Like all those little intricacies that go into booking a show. This one is going to be tough because it is a fucking. The whole thing is a headbanger. Like anything could steal the show, and everything has potential. And I just don't know where to start it and where to go. You know what I mean? Where to end the first half, where to start the second half. All I know is Bishop and Broner's going on last.
Well, there you go, folks. So you want to know the order? One way to find out, two ways to find out, really. Show up to the Sadmore Shrine this Friday, December 30th in Akron, Ohio, or watch us on the Fight Plus app. It's $4.99 a month. If you haven't already subscribed, do so. It's fantastic. And we will see you on Friday for AIW owner John Thorne, for the EVP of audio engineering, Ronald Two Legs. My name is Steve Guy, and we'll talk to you next time right here on The Card is Going to Change.
See you.